job of lineman has always been important. Today, with the demand for power greater than ever, it's essential to our whole way of life. John Martin is a part of this important team. He tells how he got into the field.
I became a lineman partly by accident, but everyone gets into line work by different ways. When I came out of university, I got an office job in an insurance company as a clerk, and after a year decided that I couldn't stand being inside. So I went out and worked for a telephone company for a few years. And one evening got a phone call from a friend of mine that's a utility manager asking me if I'd like to be a lineman, and this was how I started. I've been in the business 6 years. I enjoy it. I like the job. I like the variety and the challenge and the different situations that you get into. But like any other job, being a lineman is not perfect all the time. You have to be prepared to work in all kinds of weather, and being called out in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and having to go out in a rainstorm and fix a pole. But then you get the other days where you have sunshine, the first few days in the spring, and it makes up for all the discomforts. Get to the yard in the morning about 7:30, 7:45, go into the line shed and sit around, and there's usually a few jokes and a little bit of ribbing going on amongst the guys until 8 o'clock. Then you get up and go out, get your orders for the day, and get the material. If you're going on a new job, you get the necessary material out, and away you go on the road. Depends what job you're on, how long you are getting there. Some jobs are 5 minutes, some are 15. The guys are a real good bunch of guys, and most of them. Everybody, I think, because of the job, is fairly independent, but yet they stick together. If you're in problems or you need some helping hands, they'll always help you out. When you get 20 guys together in one group, you're always going to have a few conflicts, but basically that when they get to the job, the conflicts are left behind and everything goes along fairly well. May spend a 2 or 3 month period where you're on the same crew doing roughly the same job with the same guys, but you're moved from crew to crew. You have different foremen, you have different truck drivers, different guys to work with, and also we move on to service trucks, so you're never stuck with the same one day in, day out. And this makes it more interesting when you're working with different fellows all the time. You run into different situations. Everybody does it a different way or has their own little quirks, and so that it helps to add variety to the job as well. To be a successful lineman and make a go of it, naturally it's a physical job, so you have to have a certain amount of physical stamina. Not as much as what there used to be, because bucket trucks do a lot of the lifting for you and this type of thing. You have to be prepared to take responsibility and take the issue in your own hands, as well as help out the other fellow under certain circumstances. You have to be able to learn and to comprehend things. You just can't put your head down and bull right into it anymore because of increased voltages and new ideas of work. A stranger coming in the field has to be prepared to undergo a certain amount of discomfort, because there are times when you have to work in the rain, you have to work in sub-zero temperatures, you have to work in abnormal heat. But the majority of the times the conditions are pretty good and you're not in that much discomfort. In the job, you're a rolling ambassador for the public utilities, because you're out there with a great big truck on the side of the road and everybody can see what you're doing. And if you shut their lights off, you have to be able to smooth feathers. And you always have people coming up asking questions. What are you doing here? How come you're moving that pole? What's going on? Is there a new area coming in? So you have to be able to meet the public. I take quite a bit of ribbing from the guys here because I have a little bit more education than a lot of them do. In fact, my nickname around here is often the educated bastard. Also, I get a lot of ribbing from some of my other friends that aren't in the field. They ask me, what's a guy like me doing in this business? But I look at it this way. I have a good friend that's got a BA, and I make just as much, if not more money than he does, and I get just as much satisfaction out of my job as he does. Being a lineman is not just climbing poles. There are other factors such as underground and substation maintenance. And these two jobs require new training, a different set of skills, to make the job that much more complicated and interesting. Education for me has been a big plus factor in my job. It's given me quite an advantage when I've gone to school in all the theory part of it. And also it gives me a better opportunity if a chance comes along for advancement into management. The training is 4 2-week periods, and you go down once a year. They cover all aspects of the job, starting with roadblocks, basic theory, transformer theory, go on into sticks, bare hand methods. The only problem that I found with it is that it's only 2 weeks long and they try to cram too many things in, and it should be a little longer period.
Using the X secondary, what do we use the messenger for?
Hold up the bundle.
Fine. The first year is just basic electricity, teaching a man how to work safely, and theory, and how to set a pole, very basics, right down to where to go. Our fourth year they get up into the more technical stuff, such as double buckets, the use of rubber gloves, the 35 kV gloves. Electrical theory gets a little more advanced when they're banking of transformers, backfeeds, system design, public relations, underground. There's many facets of how it all. The lineman in the old days was king. He always had a groundman follow him around all the time. Today it's changed a little bit. There's smaller crews. They have to work together. They have to think together. With the education today, the technology in hydro, the new equipment, I think the educated personnel is going to go a long way in utilities.
Today, the job of lineman is one that appeals to men from many different backgrounds. These young men tell how they came to the job and what they expect from it.
I took it up for several reasons. Security, pays pretty good. There are several benefits attached to it. There's a certain amount of challenge.
Well, I got into line work because there was a good future in it, the money was good, and there was lots of room for advancement.
I got into line work kind of as a sideline. I started with the hydro just after I got out of high school, and I never really expected to be working this kind of high voltage equipment, but I found it a step in the right direction is forming a career that's got somewhere to go. People are always going to need power, so it's a kind of career that it's always going to be there. It's got a future.
I didn't really know much about the hydro until I got into it, and when I got into it, so many different things you got to learn, facets of the hydro. It was a lot different from what I imagined it. And it's very interesting work to do.
I got into line work because I'd done residential wiring previous to this job, and it presented a challenge, more technical work.
There's a sense of brotherhood because you are working with things that your life does depend on. So you have to know your fellow worker pretty good.
I like the underground aspect of the hydro. It's more interesting than the overhead.
I wouldn't mind getting into the safety aspect of it. I mean, this is an important factor in this kind of work, and maybe carrying on where other people have started, like from safety associations, branch off that way.
Being a lineman right now is great because it gives me the opportunity to do the things I like to do and to be outside in fresh air. But as I get older and I have more experience, I'd like to either work into a management job or demonstration sales job. But one thing for sure, whatever I get is not going to be inside at a desk in an office. The age-old idea of a lineman is a guy with a strong back and a weak mind, and just a laborer up a pole type idea. But the image is changing, and it's changing due to the job. The job's becoming more complicated, more demanding, There's more technology being used as you go to higher and higher voltages all the time. Techniques of stick work, rubber glove work, and now that they've just brought out 27,000 volt rubber glove work, and that's something that I want to get a crack at as soon as they bring it in the utility that I'm with. It's a dangerous job. There's always an element of danger in it, but life insurance companies have taken and proven that it's not as dangerous as what it used to be, because you don't pay an extra premium anymore. If you're careless, you can get into a lot of problems, and you have to work together with the other guy that you're with, because if one of you gets into it, the other one's going to get into it too. With the new training methods and the new emphasis on safety, the guys are much more careful, and less accidents have resulted. The benefits are good and very good in most utilities. You get full medical, health plans, also good holidays. You get all your statutory holidays off. Once the basic skills are learned as a lineman and you serve your apprenticeship period, now that they've started to try to certify linemen, the same as carpenters and plumbers and all the rest, you always can fall back on the job. If at some time you decide you want to try something else, you have your ticket, you can come back into the field again. The biggest thing about this job is, to me, is to be satisfied with what you're doing and to be happy at it. Money and prestige aren't the only things. There's satisfaction, pride in your job, and also the fact that the job is very challenging. Not everyone can do it. For guys like myself, being able to be outside in the outdoors and the satisfaction of this, it's great. Also, it's not inside. You're not stuck at a desk all day long. You have variety.
So that's how John Martin sees the job of lineman. It's tough, rugged, and challenging. It's work that can always be done better and safer. And one of the biggest challenges is guarding against complacency. Complacency that could allow poor work habits to become accepted practice. Poor work habits that generally involve the very basics of the job: switching, tagging, and especially protective equipment like rubber gloves. Good habits are just as easy to form as bad habits. Good habits are essential for safety. And doing the job safely is the hallmark of the professional lineman.